It's not just ecological. It's not just a medical system crisis. It's not just a freaking political crisis or a social crisis. And it's also an embodied crisis of collapse and fear or fight and flight. And so our goal today here with Musclemonk and with Sher, what I want to take you through, and I want to start right out. And I want to invite everybody out there in TV land to raise your hands, because in terms of collapse, it really starts from within. And that's my mission as Musclemonk, is to save the world with muscle. And the muscles that really are getting pulled long and stretched, and that where the collapse is happening, are these muscles of the scapular array. And we can really restore that and reverse that by raising our hands. So let's just raise our hands in greeting and say, hey. And what that does is that tones the muscles of the scapular array, the upper back and the back of the neck, where we feel all that tension, and it pumps those muscles as if you're getting a massage. So kind of come all the way up, not just part way, come all the way up. No pain, no discomfort, and keep those arms up and add a little bit of a smile, right? And Sher is doing that wonderful sinuous kind of helical movement, the spiral movement, which is our essential true nature. Nothing in us is mechanical and linear. It's all helical, just like the DNA. And so we're toning that muscle, we're lifting the chest, we're opening the chest, and you might feel a little bit of a kind of a enjoyment. You might feel a little bit of release and liberation, and your head might lift high. So anytime you're there going to working at your desk like Bob Cratchit, in Scrooge, and just take that break. This is an excellent way to balance out the posture that is so affected by collapse. And you feel that, right? And it's about the scapula. The arm is attached in the scapula. So, yeah, DNA.
It's like an immediate release, It's like
It's a fun.
That both when I get so nervous when I'm being perceived in any way whatsoever. And immediately any movement really, but this one specifically, it just like kind of releases that attention just enough that I can kind of come back into myself, which is, I think, common for people who maybe have similar setups as I do.
We're stuck in our heads, all of us. We're like trying to think ourselves really out of a paper bag.
Yeah, we get into these monotropic, very focused states because we care about the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Forget that we have a body.
Yeah. Okay. Metaculture, Melanie. I like that. Good words. Metaculture. Okay. Metaculture is what we're building. Metaculture is normal. And any culture is a metaculture, because what's happening is within and between and above and beyond, and it's community, it's connection. But we've gotten to a global state of metaculture, and this is the revolution. And this is sort of the technology. As the exterior, exteroceptive technology of science, which has been rigidly exteroceptive and exclusive of repressing and really kind of abusing and exploiting nature and the body, the animal self, it has reached its pinnacle of power. We're threatened both with self-destruction and self-discovery. And so now we have a chance for metacognition, for metastability, and for meta theories like the one that Sher's working on. I'm going to take you to the next little piece of this. And to do that, I'm going to stand up, and I invite you, you can remain seated for this, but I'm going to stand up. And because I need to get a little bit better angle for the camera. And what I'm going to do is the next in a series of movements involving the arm. And you don't have to stand up. It works perfectly fine. But it's extra nice if you can ground yourself on the earth. And if you're sitting in a chair or if you're laying in bed, that's fine. You can do this in bed just to get the pills off there and be able to come into the angel wings. Angel wings. So now we're raising our hands and we're really opening up that chest. And I'm raising my hands not in the frontal plane here, but as much as I can comfortably, really recognizing the fact that the arm is attached back there on the back of the ribs. And I'm taking that scapular array through a range of motion. And I'm going to come and put this on a stool and in my home, my little dojo. And so you can see kind of the front and the back. But I want us, as we're going through these slow micro movements, the postural system is slow. Well, it's fast, but it's micro movements. It's slow in the sense that it's long, continuous movements. I can be typing really fast, but I'm holding myself in a nice seated positioning, slow, long, continuous, meditative system of micro movements deep within. So this is still, we're still really on the outside with this kind of big movement. But if you're feeling into the scapula, into the armpit, where I'm going to take you next, then and if you're doing this in a quiet, meditative way, then you are coming into yourself and into proprioception. And I'm sorry, as I'm demonstrating, I can't read any comments, but please hold them and I'll review them when I can.
Trying to.
So that's angel wings. And we're going to come up and we're going to bring our hands together and we're going to come into ourself a little more deeply in the armpit, in self-touch within. I don't mean touch yourself, but yes, touch yourself, but we're touching ourselves within. We're touching, the self is touching the self within, in the armpits and the arms, the sensitive inner arms are touching the body. And we're coming into this, what I call prayer hands. And why do people do this when they pray or meditate? Because so much attention, so much focus, so much interiority is expressed in when we come together. And you see that I'm not like this. I'm really feeling myself. And I'm going to invite you just to breathe with me for a minute. And as you breathe, feel your fingers. Feel the different fingers of the hand. Feel the pressure in the palm, in the heel of the hand, in the pinky fingers, and the middle fingers, and the thumb. And you might actually even sort of come in and touch your face. And I want you to extend through the arm into the armpit. The armpit is the sensory station, not sensitive. That's a ram, a knuckle. Come into the sensory station of the armpit and come down through the core of your body, through the front of the spine, through the groin, through the inner legs, through the deep calves, into your feet. And as you breathe and feel, include awareness of the ground in your feet. And this is movement meditation. There is no meditation without movement. But micro movements is what these different arts and different cultures. So now I want to invite you just to play a little bit with this prayer hands and see about the range of touch that you can keep. Maybe coming back and forth, and feel the touch in the armpit as well as on the chest. And we're going to just have a little fun and just kind of circumambulate the head. And maybe we can even come around the back of the head. And of course, we're opening up, but that's okay. And we can come back together. And then I'm going to invite you to take this wedge down that center line and come down this axial line on the outside of the body, but also imagining that we really are within, and we are within, and then come into the groin and the inner legs. I don't know if this is available on your video um, of me. Can you see my lower body, Sher? Because I can't see that. Yes? Okay, good. So then we're going to just gently come down, and you can spread your hands against your thighs. And now instead of touching your hands together, you're going to just touch your inner thighs, and let's just stretch out a little bit. Not rounding the spine, that's okay, but we're going to try to hip hinge and come down, as far as is comfortable. Ground yourself in your feet. Return to your breath. And we're going to do one more movement in this series, or a circuit of movements, starting on the outside, coming deep within. And we're not going to come into the torso, the important, deep, powerful inner torso yet. We're going to come into the armpit. And we're going to understand that the armpit is the deep interiority of the arm, which is, the arm is fully attached on the outside of the ribs. It's not attached to the neck. So that if you fall down, you don't break your neck, right? It's on this springy rib cage, but it has to have its own interiority, which is in this very sensitive area. All of the concavities and the groin and the bottom of the feet, these concavities are where the body comes together and knows itself. And I'm going to invite you to reach out. Let me take a breath. I'm talking so much. I think I'm going to just have a little pause and breathe. Hello, everybody. I hope this is great. Please feel free to throw up a comment or a question. And Sher, I'm going to shake hands with you here in this meta culture that Melanie talked about. And we're going to reach out and we're going to imagine we're shaking hands, and we're going to grab each other's hand in a grip. I'm going to use this model of the scapula bone, which is a perfect grip-shaped bone. But Melanie, you can just grip the air or pretend you're gripping, anything, a doorknob. And we're going to get a grip in the hands. And there is metacognition in that cat. Well, maybe not quite the kind of metacognition we're capable of, but that cat's a lot more self-aware perhaps than we are. So we're going to shake hands, but I want to invite you into something. This is really, really kind of powerful. And this is the arm. These are the bones of the arm. Let's get this twisted back into correct shape. So we have the hand and the forearm, the upper arm, and the shoulder is this knuckle here, this knuckle. The knuckle of the shoulder is really a part of the anchor, the proprioceptive anchor of the arm on the body. It is a part of this anchor, this scapula bone. Then we have the little clavicle. Now, the clavicle, people are born without a clavicle, or if they have cleidocraniodystosis, where they're born. Some people, there's a famous actor who doesn't have clavicles; they're not completed, so he can bring his arms in. And people like that look a little funny in a suit, maybe not funny, but they look different in a suit. But you could be a laborer and have no clavicle. The clavicle isn't that important. The key bone here is the scapula, which is a grip-shaped bone. And as the intrinsic muscles of the rotator cuff, the intrinsic muscles of the scapula, 5 of them, just like 5 fingers, they wrap around this bone, and the fingers of those muscles wrap all the way around this joint, forming the rotator cuff. So they're just like your hand grabbing a doorknob. This grip on this bone is grabbing this kind of a knuckle and stabilizing that. That joint space is really tiny. So the big, powerful rotator cuff helps to stabilize and centrate that in an active way, an active, predictive manner. So we're going to come into our arm, and we're going to come into the armpit now. So we can start by just imagine that you're really in your armpit, in that scapula, and that we're going to try to shift our awareness within. And you can feel that. Now, you can feel the fingers enough to be able to, play a flute or a keyboard or something. Here, you're really just going to feel a grip. But see if you can't sort of feel a grip in that scapula. It might be a new experience in the armpit. Why is the armpit protected? Why are all of these cavities protected, right? Because they contain all of the sensitive information, all of the sensitive connections, all of the nerves, arteries, tendons, and the delicate muscles of the support structure. So now when we reach out and we shake hands, I want you to imagine we're going to play a little push hands, Tai Chi push hands. And of course, Tai Chi is a technology for this purpose. This is what Tai Chi is about. It isn't about touching in your hands as you play Tai Chi push hands or as you do Tai Chi. It's not about feeling your hands. It's about feeling your core. It's a great technology for that, as is yoga and many other forms of interior bodily pursuit and awareness. And so we're going to shake hands, and I want to invite you to just do a little bit of seesaw in the armpit not with the shoulder would be like this, elbow would be like this, the hand would be like this, but with that scapula. And just seesaw. It doesn't have a lot of motion across the ribs, but it has enough so that no matter where that arm is pointing, it's providing a stable support. So that's how you can get a grip in the armpit. And as you're typing on your desk,
I got it. It's just,
did you get that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Got the grip. And it was like, right as you said it, I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. It's there. Now, this interior part of ourselves is the most hidden part. And it's protected from all of the influences of the outer world. And it maintains itself in a pure as possible, our innermost self. And it maintains itself not in reference to the outer world, but in reference to itself. I'm kind of emulating the spine here, which is the key system, which we may not get into today. And breath break. The mouth goes much faster than the body does. I'm a body worker, so when I touch people, I don't touch them fast. It feels good when you go slow because the body knows things. The interior body knows things in a slow, continuous, meditative fashion. So the next time that you're kind of feeling a little hunched over and collapsed, remember that you can reverse that. And you can do that externally, but you can also do that internally and hold yourself in that anchor of the arm. In the scapula, in the armpit. Why is the armpit so sensitive? Why does it have so many sensory systems? The tendinous system, the neurological system, the pheromonal and sweat glands. The skin is very tender. All of the tendons of the muscles are in there. It's very, very tender to invite our awareness. It's hidden from the outside world, but not from us, not from me, not from you. And so we can seesaw. You can put your hands on the desk and just place your hands on the desk if you're sitting in front of a desk like I am, and just sort of sway back and forth in the armpits. So you're not moving your elbow again. You're not moving your shoulder as much as just the whole entire arm is sliding back and forth in the armpits. Get a grip. And it turns out that this system is a connected body-wide system called the deep core. And I have an image of it here. This is the deep core in blue here. And Sher, you can see down to the bottom of this sign here, can you?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, good. So this is a myofascial synergy that runs from the tongue to the toe. And I'll show you a picture of the actual, this is a dissected example of this, which is our core. This is our deep core. And it runs from the tongue down through, this is the diaphragm, beneath the lungs, the mediastinum, beneath the heart, down through the psoas and the iliacus, down here to the pubic symphysis. And it's running within us, down here through the adductors in the inner thigh, then the deep posterior calf, and then it runs around the medial ankle, and you see this is the big toe. And this is looking at the front of the body, and we're looking at the person's right side of the body, which would be on our left as we look at them.
You want
And
me
this
to
is,
comment?
yes. Yeah, go ahead. This is from Thomas Myers, and this is from Anatomy Trains. And that book is right up there over my shoulder. You could see it right there. So that's my keystone in a way.
You want me to read a few of these comments here? I don't know if it's a conversation happening.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah.
Because I think it got behind. But the structure has math to it. Those tendons show some real slopes. And even when you flex your fingers and how you try to straighten one, but the rest don't follow, eventually that slope is consistent.
Nice. The rest follow. The rest do follow. But I'm going to take that exteroceptive, and this comes from the great neurologist of the 20th century, the greatest neurologist, Charles Sherrington, who really kind of created almost the field of neurophysiology by himself. And he came up with these words, exteroceptive on the outside. Interoceptive is the inner surface of the outer boundary, and proprioception is the deep core self. Now, if you want to reach out and you want to grab something in your hand with this system, and you have a grip in the scapula and a grip in your hand, and if you reach out with that, as you say, contract the pinky fingers, they're going to be located in a mirror synergy here, exactly where your hand would fit. If you want to reach out and maybe use more of the thumb in your grip, then that is going to be felt right here and also underneath here, where the analog of the thumb exists. There's a muscle underneath. That's really the fifth one. And if you want to use this finger, then that's going to come through this part. So that the muscles, the intrinsic muscles of the scapula, are a mirror synergy, an analog of the grip in the hand. And that grip coordinates itself. It does it itself. And these tissues are directly connected with each other. They are not abstractly, symbolically connected. They are a myofascial continuity. And so that grip, you can feel this kind of in here, and you can feel this kind of up here. And if you move your hand outwards, that's going to be more of the superior deltoid. If you bring your hand inward, that's going to come more into the armpit. I'm sorry, my description is very, very poor. It's a new kind of way of seeing the self. So I want to take you, let's see what else we've got. My spelling sucks. No problem, man. We're typing as we're learning. And And yes, Dali, this is embryologically, this has an embryological origin. We're not going to get into that today. But I want to take you into one more really important somatic grip. And as we look at this system, so this is the deep core body map, and this is my own kind of development. But if we look at the skeleton, see if I've got a better little skeleton one here. If we look at the skeleton and we imagine the core, now we've been talking about this sort of upper extremity, a peripheral core located in the armpit. But if we look at the actual skeleton, it's very, very easy, and I've covered it up with these marks, but it's very easy to imagine an axial line, at least this far. And then we got a little bit abstract, but I just have a line coming down to the ground, but it really comes through the inner thigh and then the deep calf behind these two bones in the center, and then around the medial ankle to the big toe, but also to the rest of the toes, but from around the center of the medial ankle. And if we look at this, it's a very simple structure. It's fascinating. Now, we have this axial line, which is the spine. And at either end of the spine, which is right here and up here, the spine connects to the skull. And so I've drawn a line, an intersection. There's a major juncture where the spine connects to the skull. It's right here where the jaw starts, underneath the skull. But we have this jaw here kind of attached adjacent to that. Down here in this complex pelvic structure, where the other end of the spine, so I've marked that with this line, we have the entire pelvis, we have the posterior pelvis, but in the front we have this pubic bone. And these bones are prominent. That's a very prominent bone, the pubic bone in the front, sticking out. The jaw sticks out right here at this juncture. The pubic bone sticks out right here at this juncture. The central and most prominent bone. And these are bony servomechanisms that the system uses to organize the array of muscles and tissues and nerves and other bones connected to it and that radiate around it, from it. And then finally, the third major bone is your big toe, the biggest central bone of the foot. The big toe is so important for everything that we do. And yet in the shoe, we crush it over like this, collapse. And if we understand that this system of bones, bony servomechanisms, is crucial to the animal intelligence, the core, then, so we have these bones in the throat, we're a tube. And in the throat, it's this jawbone. That's the only and the largest moving bone of the skull. There are some smaller bones in the cervical apparatus, but this is by far the central, major bone. And this jaw sticks out, but it's anchored deep within. And you can feel that. And it's nice. And right now I have a little bit of probably a little nervousness headache, and I'm feeling it on this side. So I'm just going to kind of massage that temporomandibular joint a little bit. Oh, up through the temporalis muscle. And so the next station is the armpit, which is a peripheral station. The diaphragm and the xiphoid process are very important, but I won't get into them deeply now. That's the diaphragm crosses the entire body. And deep within, the xiphoid process is on the outside. All of these bones come out and they're prominent. They're inviting us inside. The xiphoid process is like a little switch connected through the structure, through the diaphragm, to the largest concentration of neurons of the solar plexus outside of the brain, the largest concentration outside of the brain right here, and the diaphragm muscle. But this pubic bone then is the center of, and imagine how rich this sensory station is, this end of the tube. Imagine how rich this end of the tube is with reproductive, with sexual, with biomechanical leverages of tendons, with organs and pheromones and lymphatics, all tucked in safely in here, protected, hidden as much as possible from the outside world, but not hidden from us. That's the most sensitive part of us. But what do we focus on in postural collapse? Do we focus on these areas, or do we focus on the shoulder? Do we focus on this sensitive area or the back? Oh, my neck is so tight. Can you give me a massage? And yeah, you need one. But this is really the answer. Do we focus on the groin and the pubic bone and everything that's happening in there and that deep inner awareness, that animal intelligence? Or we're like, oh man, it's my hips, it's my back, my lower back. And it never seems to really quite work. So each one of these bones is a bony sternal mechanism, but the jaw is really, really fun to work with because it's so easy. It's kind of the portal to the inner self. And it has all of this exteroceptive apparatus, our hearing, our sight, our smell, our taste, all kinds of skin and movement in the exteroceptive system. And yet it's a gateway to the inner self. So I want to invite you to follow your tongue. And just follow your tongue. And if you have your tongue on the upper part of your mouth, you can feel this muscle running down the back of the throat, the front of the spine, behind the esophagus, attached to the cervical muscles. So this isn't the esophagus, although that's a powerful element. It is the muscular core, something that we really can take charge of in a meditative, postural kind of yin manner, down. And imagine that system running down behind the heart, through the diaphragm, behind the guts in the psoas, through the deep pelvic basin, coming out the inner thighs, and then down into the big toe. So we're going to come back up, trace that back up now. And just imagine that line, that system, in a way, connected by that muscular synergy that is lying on this deeper innermost part of ourselves. And we're going to come back up and we're going to kind of do this last meditation, but we're going to learn how to centrate and get a grip in the jaw. It's very simple. And it takes the form of a gentle inner smile. Posture is when, collapse is when things kind of fall apart. Collapse means collapse. Apse means to fall. Col means together. Things fall together. We collapse. But when we bring ourselves together actively, then that's extension and connection. Then that's when we start to experience the vitality built into the system. And Dali, you're loving this, and I can't respond to everything that you're saying. So I want to invite you into a discussion, and maybe we can open up. We have a lot of time. We can open you and bring you in as a host and have some talk. But in another context, let's have a discussion. And so this jaw now. So I want you to go ahead and just feel your jaw, trace the jaw, and you can grab it kind of like an ice cream cone here, and you can just, it moves itself. This system moves itself. It's not meant, it's not like a switch, like it doesn't do it if, it won't work unless I turn it on and turn it off. No, it's running itself. It's homeostatic and autonomous. It's self-directed, self-aware, self-balancing, self-reproducing. It's alive, but we can engage with it and feel back here at this, where the jaw connects up with the maxilla and the temporalis bone here. Feel how close that is, right there to the base of the skull where the spine is attaching. And so we have a system in the outer face, just like we have a system in the outer hand that reaches within. And what is posture? Posture is when things come together, fit together, and support each other and know each other. It's maximal self-touch. So we're going to do that in the jaw. I'm going to demonstrate head forward position, bad orofacial posture. This is bad. And this is my imitation of it. So bear with me. Here we go. And it's like, okay, kind of hate myself. The world sucks. Everything's terrible. And I'm putting a lot of pressure on my neck and on my upper back. And my jaw is slack. So the muscles are going to atrophy. The jaw itself atrophies because we don't breastfeed and we don't chew stuff. We eat Twinkies and there's no real muscular effort. The jaw visibly atrophies over generations and over the life. You can reverse that within puberty and somewhat after puberty. So instead of this slack, and of course, this position results in weakening of the cervicals and results in apnea, interrupted breathing, and poor bite mechanisms. And so we're going to reverse that. It's very simple. We're going to go from this, and I'm going to start by just bringing my jaw together. And I'm smiling. I'm prejudiced because I know how this works, so I'm already smiling. But I'm going to bring the jaw together. And when the jaw comes together, the teeth approximate. And the tongue fills the mouth and comes to the top of the mouth. The lips touch. Now I'm forced to breathe through my nose. I'm not forced, I'm privileged, blessed to breathe through the sinus of the radiators. And I'm starting to feel all of this inner self. And then if I just contract, like say I'm really having a hard time, and I got through the hard time long enough that I can put on this little smile. And now I'm holding that smile, that's inner smile with my breathing. And I may kind of come out of it like, no, I don't know what I'm going to do for money right now. Why is the politics like that? I'm going to come back into that. And I'm going to flex these little muscles here. And this end of the tube of the vertebrate body plan is puckering, and it's all coming together. It doesn't have to be, I'm smiling for you. A lot of people don't want to smile for what's hurting them, but it's smiling for yourself. And there's one more thing. The jaw is going to become more active. So it's going to become not just connected with the rest of the skull, but it's going to be connected with the system beneath it, the cervical system. So instead of this little crease here, I'm going to touch myself in here, in the bellows of the throat, the jaw, the bellows of the mouth, whatever that's called, together with this little crease on the hyoid bone here. And now I have nice cervical posture, nice orofacial posture. And that gentle inner smile, the Mona Lisa smile, the Buddha smile, whatever you want to call it. Now that is a trick that is easy to perform in your body. This one was a little bit hard, right? But this one is super easy. And you will find that in the next time when you're a bit distressed, if you can remember it, and it's easy, a smile, how can you not remember a smile? But sometimes we're really, really negative, and that smile is there for us. This is this end of the tube. And it's very much totally directly connected through the vagal nerve with all of our kind of emotional responses of fight, flight, and play dead. And this is a very powerful.
That's a big one.
How to get a grip in the armpit, how to get a grip in the gentle inner smile. And this bone is like a grip. It's a servo mechanism that allows the body to coordinate itself, but it also, look how much it sticks out. It's inviting us to participate, not to control and dominate, but to like ride the horse, we have this inner animal that's doing it already, and we can sort of embrace it and rely on it, just like you rely on your dog or your cat to be there for you when you come home, and always sort of, be cuddly maybe. I think that's really good. I want to take you down through the breathing just a little bit and have you just touch that xiphoid process. I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm not going to do the lower part of the body today. I want to open this up. And, but touch that xiphoid process. It's just a little button. It doesn't do much. Like the big toe does a lot. The scapula does a lot. The jaw does a lot. The pubic bone doesn't move very much, but it sure does a lot with those two legs there and everything else going on. The xiphoid process is like a little button. So let's put on that inner smile. Let's wear those arms, get a grip in the armpits. And we're just going to touch that xiphoid process in a very, very tender way. These are all very tender systems. And that's going to bring us into awareness with the heart and the lung space and the diaphragm in between, pressurizing, and the guts and the viscera below. And we're starting to come down through the core, which extends through the groin. Beautiful cat, through the feet. This is the postural system. Postural collapse requires that we come within into a slow, long, continuous, harmonious, physically homeostatic synergy within the body, deep within, called proprioception. Proprioception, meaning proprio is like the proprietor, is the owner. Ception, awareness of the self, self-awareness. And this is one of Charles Sherrington's big three receptor systems. And it is one of the big two, which really has self-awareness. Interoception doesn't have a full body, unified, singular kind of self-awareness on me and I. But exteroception does. This is me. And proprioception is what we really need now in the meta crisis for the meta stability. When these things come together, when we come together, then the oscillations of that harmony affect the oscillations of the brain directly. The right hemispheric potential is activated, and metacognition and consilience, things like that, are activated. It's a pattern recognition system. All right. So, everybody out there in TV land, raise your thumbs or raise your hands if that was pretty good. Sher, you give me a hands up, a thumbs up, give me a high five, and then let's just go and share it and spend me on stage. And I'm sorry that I'm just learning how to really teach this more inclusively, but it's yeah.
I was here to be the support system, and
Thank
I'm
you.
you. So
Yay.
so much. I mean, I know we've talked about these concepts a lot
Yeah.
and had some one-on-one time with each other with this, but every time it's like there's just something, a little bit an awareness that's a little bit deeper or a little bit wiser or a little bit more, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating to me because, I love all the layers of awareness, and this one comes kind of naturally to me
Yeah.
because of my background, and I was a gymnast for a really long time. I've done yoga most of my life. And so understanding the intricacies of movement
Mm-hmm.
is kind of just what I do. But the way that it's described with the language that aligns helps me to, like, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
almost a little bit more precise, and this button right now is like the one I'm stuck on.
Yeah. Good.
Love it.
I know. It's really great. I only recently really discovered or became aware of this in the system. So it's a new addition. My website is called threebonestheory.com because I focused on the three bones of the jaw, the pubic bone, and the big toe. These are the big boys, right? The big girls, whatever you want to call it, the big guys. And that xiphoid process has come to me a little bit recently. And the point is to identify the bony landmarks of the deep inner core, to identify the bony landmarks and the sensory stations, because that's what we have to go on.
And for all the people in the audience, right? Like we all, this is just another layer of the spiral, right? Like it's just, it really is
Go for it.
the same spiral. We're just looking at it from a different perspective. And fascinating to me, the whole idea, like I never even really understood the concepts, like intellectually. Of course, I felt the concepts, but I didn't understand the concept of interoception and exteroception and these types of things until I discovered I was autistic. That's where I kind of started. Was I started to get the language and like
perceptual systems.
Yeah, and was starting to kind of put the pieces together. But You kind of take it to another level for me, and I really appreciate that. So.
We're benefiting from the work of Thomas Myers and many others in the fascial world. Us body workers use this all the time to think about, I'm not just touching the gluteus maximus. I'm touching a line of tensions that goes through the body. And so
Yeah.
you can see it. I mean, you can look at a naked body, or even a person in tights, or a person even in clothes, and you can just guess what's connected to what. It's not a miracle.
Yeah.
But when we come in deeper to the deeper postural connections, that's when we start to become really expert. But we're all meant to come into that deeper system. We all own it. And how I interpret the system using kind of Western science and Sherrington's Western neuroscience for the perceptual systems, which is universally accepted in neuroscience, but also kind of misunderstood. The proprioceptive part is very poorly understood because they don't know this anatomy. This is
Yeah.
new anatomy. Yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say is that there's every different way to look at it. It's metacognitive and metastate, and we can name it this way, but we can also call it like a chakra energy system. That's valid, and it's very, very similar.
Uh-huh.
And a Chinese meridian system, that's valid, but that's just a different technology from a different culture. Or yoga, the yogic kind of system. All of these different systems everyone has an insight into this because we all possess this. And
Mm-hmm.
all of those different technologies share the common point that it's slow, meditative, continuous, sensitive, rather than
Yeah.
playing drums. That's valid, but that's a little bit different.
Like when I teach movement, I always talk about that I think, especially in Western society, we've kind of come to this kind of distorted understanding of what yoga is in general. And that's always where I come back to. That's always what I start with people is like, just wipe your brain of everything you've seen on Instagram. Just take that all away. Not yoga. And start just with listening. Like you don't have, I mean, small, tiny movements. You don't have to be able to stick your leg up to here like I can. Like that's not that's just
Not this old
spectacle.
man.
That's just spectacle. But the actual what yoga actually is for, like the idea, the principle behind yoga is it's a connection to self. And that's what I think gets lost when we, do these yogic practices and big
Yeah,
lodges and sweat rooms with, yoga tights on and everybody
yeah,
trying to be the best and look a certain way. That's not what yoga's about. It's not about doing it a certain way. Yes, some of the posture of especially like hatha yoga, those are really important to understand, and they can bring like I don't know how to explain this more. It's like the the posture is the insight, right? Like the
yeah.
posture isn't a
Insight,
perfection, it's the insight. And so
intuition.
I see that in that connection here. That's why I really like
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
why I feel like movement is just such a lost art.
So if we look at the new physics of life called active inference,
Mm,
right? And if we look at Charles Sherrington's quite old, but still very important and not well completely understood, the integrative action of the nervous system, integrative action. The insight is active. And Carl Friston now has an exciting new model of life, computational neuroscience model of life or physics of life. I think it's under development. It's under in progress, but it's called active inference. So again, inference, is that same kind of process of the fact that the living organism knows what to do.
mhm,
It's inferential, or inductive is another word. From the 19th century, William Whewell was into induction, and he invented the word consilience. Looking around him in the middle of the 19th century at Maxwell's synthesis of electricity and magnetism, and Darwin's synthesis of evolutionary theory, and a lot of other Kelvin's synthesis of kinetics and things like that. I don't know a lot about all of this, but, he said induction. And so, but what Friston is saying, what Sherrington is saying, what Schrodinger was saying in his important philosophical text in the 40s or the 50s called What is Life, is that life is active. It's active. And when Sherrington had to name the synapse, the nervous system they knew that there were these synapses where all these different neurons were connected in this complicated way. And they knew that, but they didn't really have a name for it. They didn't really understand how it worked. And it was Sherrington's work. That's why he won the Nobel Prize. And it took him years to come up with the name synapse. And his mentor, Michael Foster, Sherrington was writing some chapters for Foster's Encyclopedia of Physiology at the time. And Foster said, we'll call it a junction. And Sherrington's like, no, it has to be something active. And so they consulted with an Oxford classicist who said, well, what you want is syn, meaning together, and apse, meaning to grab. So Sherrington in 1906 had no idea, or 1893, whatever this was, I don't remember. They had no idea that there were actually little grabby molecules on the end of the dendrites called synaptic attractor molecules that literally mechanically link the dendrites together in some way. But that has been recently discovered with the new technologies that we have. So this combination of integration and action, whereas the brain takes things apart and doesn't move, doesn't have vitality, right? The brain is disembodied and it's dissecting, disconnecting, analytical. Yes, the brain puts things together, but in general, we're taking things apart and we don't quite know how to put them back together. And the key to that lies in this system, this deeper inner system that is integrative and active, that is active and inferential, that is predictive. And that goes for cells and bacteria.
I'm laughing because you said we're so good at taking things apart but not putting them back together, or something along those lines. That metaphor feels timely. Like is that not like the postmodern problem?
Yeah. Well, no, it's the modern problem. That's the modern problem. And putting philosophical kind of lit crit French theoretical postmodernism aside, whether we call it postmodernity or metamodernity or the next stage, is built upon an integrative sense of the nature of the laws of life and of physics. So we have the laws of all the non-living matter, and we can create intelligent machines. We have the power of gods. We can, we have robots and atomic bombs and reactors, but all of it is very mechanistic and it's toxic and it's poisonous. Everything about AI is toxic. And yet we can't contain within ourselves a kind of an AI, a real AI, which is an animal intelligence that does all of that and more. And also really can speak to us, but it speaks to us in a nonverbal language. It speaks to us in this language. Yeah. This is the language right there. And inviting, welcoming, flourishing, vital. And so this new physics of life, this new paradigm that we're a part of I'm a historian. That's my training. In addition to the body work and the anatomy, I'm a somatic historian. But this paradigm has been in play since Vesalius, published in the same year as Copernicus. Vesalius's book was The Fabrica of the Human Body, Fabrica Humani Corporis. And the same year, 1543, Copernicus, it was the year he died. That's why they published it, because they couldn't do anything to him anymore. But it was called Revolutionibus Orbum Celesti or something, the revolutions. So revolution's a very reductivist mathematical approach to life and fabric, the anatomy. And we can trace throughout history the search for the laws that govern complex living organisms. And in the 19th, and with the rise of quantum theory, but also cybernetics and many other things through the 20th century. And then today, it's really exploding. We're really coming to the apex of the history of that integrative development of a new physics of life, which I think that we really kind of have in Friston's work. It's incomplete, but it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So, boy, I love saying all these big words. I worked so hard to learn all these big words, and but
I
I'm
love
proud of my.
so I mean, my brain, when you talk about this stuff, I feel I'm like, oh, that conversation I just had with so and so just
Yeah,
like 20 minutes ago, and oh, that conversation over there, and it's all just like coheres,
yeah,
kind of. So,
Mm.
and that's why I keep looking at the comments because I'm like, I know there's people here who are like, oh yeah, I know what he's
I'm going
talking
to ask anybody that's out there, if you're still with us, and if you're not brain dead by all of this stuff, throw up a comment and just let us know what you think. We're going to close up in a few minutes here. Throw out a comment. Please subscribe to my Substack and to Sher's marvelous Substack. Mine is erratic and irregular, but Sher is very prolific. And send out a comment, send out a personal message, and I'm going to love to talk to you. Sher is going to love to talk to you, and we can invite you, for some video stuff too. But I want to finish up by saying thank you so much, Sher, for being here. We're not done yet, but I want to say that. And then I really want to say I'm so proud, and I've worked so hard as a somatic theorist, as a body worker, a touch healer, to really try to take this complexity theory and make it physical, not make it physical in too abstract of a sense, but to really find, the inner logic, the tactile, the haptic, the perceptual logic that goes with it in these different bony servo mechanisms. That's my unique contribution to this field that others, Friston and Myers and Schrodinger and many, many others have really kind of established the groundwork for. So, Meta Cowboy, thanks. I see some little emojis there, and throw up a comment for us.
This is a
Sure,
beautiful way to
how you,
start my. I will
yeah.
say that
Do you
absolutely.
feel a little release of
I
pressure?
do. I do. And you know how when before we started this, I was a little like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in my life. I
It's,
still don't know what the fuck I'm doing in my life.
you do know what you're
But
doing.
it's a little bit better.
You do know what you're doing, but the anchor, we need that anchor, and it has to be a social anchor. Melodious Punk, my very good friend Jason, brilliant guy. Yes, this will be available as a replay. We're going to post this up, soon. And thanks so much for coming, Jason. Jason is really active in the sort of the myofascial, the biotensegrity kind of anatomy world, and he's a great resource for me. Melodious Punk. It's an inviting path, Dally. So please subscribe. People become a paid subscriber. Both Sher and I really are devoted to this work, and we really appreciate whatever it is, $8 or $11 a month that you choose to give. Really appreciate it. It doesn't pay the rent for me yet, but it helps. It's validation. And so when you feel that overwhelm, it's a disorganization. You have a lot of input, and that just all of that input isn't going to go away if you just come into your body and into these bony servo mechanisms and these sensory stations in these little easy ways, the xiphoid process, the yeah, and it isn't real until it's social. Nothing is real until we share it. So thank you, Sher, for sharing with me. And we've shared a lot because we're local to each other. We've done in-person stuff, but for all of us out there, this really is important that we stick together. And how do we stick together and so there's a few little somatic ways of how we can kind of hold ourselves together in these turbulent times. Ah.
All right.
Sher, you are working on a really brilliant thesis. It's more of a doctoral dissertation, but it is for your master's. Um, so I want to really wish you luck and really promote you. And so please support Sher. She's really has a vision. It is that vision that is going to take us through the little sinuous back alleys that are going to get us to where we want to go.
Hopefully I make the path a little less scary.
Yeah. Oh, I have to read this out loud. From the parts I saw Saturday, and this is my friend who's biased, but I think he's not that biased that he would. But this class is probably the best somatic practice class I have ever done. I've done a lot of them. Wow, thank you. I'm doing these every Monday and every Saturday at 10 a.m. because I need practice. And I do feel this one went a lot better than the many I've done in the last, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh, Melodious. It's called cognitive ecology, and I write a lot about it on my Substack. So, it's yeah. I'm caught off guard. So this is what, yeah. But
Let's have another one, Sher, where you maybe you can choose a
I
few
would love
co-hosts.
to. Like, I would love. It's such a complex theory that it's not a theory. I just call it that because
It's a meta framework. It's a meta
yeah.
framework.
But it's a lot, and it's really a way of thinking more than
Mm.
and
It's a way of holding your cat.
yes, it is a way of holding a cat. It is. It's all the things. It's all the things.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so yeah, it would be fun. Sorry, I just lost the train of thought. It would be fun to do some
Okay.
dance. I've thought about that, but
Subscribe to both of us. Subscribe to me. We're going to be doing this again. I'm doing this again. I may either do it solo, or if you would like to co-host, can contact me. But I'm going to be doing this Saturday at 10 a.m. And then the next week, Monday and Saturday, all the way through July. It's all free. It's all open. If you would like to be a co-host, or if you would like Dali, I mean, we should have just invited you right on to talk with us. And I'm sorry we didn't, but I'm just a little uptight around the technology. But in the future, we'll really want to open this up and make this a collective praxis or sin praxis. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Sin praxis is Sher's work. Sin praxis, which is another way of saying synapse, because praxis means to do. Sin praxis, synapse, Carl Friston's active inference, Charles Sherrington's integrative action. It's about coming together in an active way, deep within, resourcing the part of ourselves that are not already overwhelmingly overdeveloped and biased in modernity, but that are really the source of the integrative vision that we really need, the grounding, somatic, integrative vision that we need. And thanks, everybody, for coming. Thank you. Thanks for co-hosting, Sher. You made it really great. It's really because of you that I feel safe and happy.
all right. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.